Hi everyone, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be talking about NASTOLA's tabletop card game, Nasty Neighbors. Nasty Neighbors is a game for 2 to 5 players that should take about 15 to 40 minutes to play. It's suggested for ages 14 and up. In Nasty Neighbors, all players are neighbors in an apartment building. However, it's very crowded, and this can test one's nerves, especially when you have nasty neighbors. After each attack you're unable to prevent, you'll pop a pill to calm your nerves. However, take too many and you're eliminated from the game. Your goal is to force the other neighbors to leave and be declared lord of the building. Within the context of this game, popping a pill means returning one of your 3 pills to the box. If a neighbor runs out of pills, their nervous system can't take the stress, and they are forced to leave the building. In the end, there is only one survivor, or none. Before I get into the meat of my how to play, I want to take some time to review the different types of cards that appear in the game. There are 7 different types of cards that appear in all. The first and most prevalent are the attack cards. Not only are they conveniently labeled, but they are marked in red and have a little target symbol on them, and trust me when I say Target appreciates the free marketing. On your turn, you're allowed to choose a neighbor and place this card in front of them to attack their nerves. They must either react or pop a pill. You may only attack once per turn, and you may not attack on your first turn. The next type of card is the reaction card. They are marked in blue. When you are attacked, you can play this card from your hand to redirect the attack to another neighbor. They must either react to this or pop a pill. So you can kind of think of this as an Uno reverse that can be reversed multiple times. However, it's important to note that they cannot be played as an action. You may not use reverse attack against a neighbor who has a defense card in front of them. Next up are the yellow gain cards. These allow you to gain something. Essentially, you can play this card to improve your position in the game. Next up are the orange trick cards. When it's your turn, you can play these cards to weaken a neighbor of your choice. Next up are the purple mass harassments. When it's your turn, you could play this card to harm all other neighbors. Nasty. Next up are the rarest cards in the game. These cards are marked in green and are known as defense cards. On your turn, you could play this card in front of you. Until your next turn, you are protected from all actions. When it's your turn again, you have to discard the card. It's important to note that you may not play a defense card during an attack, and you have to be careful of misguided policemen. The last card type that appears in the game are special cards. They are black and marked with stars. On your turn, you may play one of these cards to activate its special effect. As you can see, I've already set up for a 4-player game of Nasty Neighbors. Setup was super easy, barely an inconvenience. First, I gave each player 3 pills of a single color. For example, this player has all green, this one has all yellow. Then I shuffled the cards and dealt 7 cards face down to each neighbor, as you can see here. From there, I dealt 3 cards face up in the middle of the table. I placed the remaining deck face down next to the face-up cards and left space for a discard pile to the left of the face-up cards. Then I placed the die nearby so everyone could reach it. And from there, the player with the best short story about bad neighbors takes the first turn. After you choose your first player, turns proceed in clockwise order. You're allowed to look at the cards in your hand, but not at other neighbors' cards. To show you all how to play, I'm going to take on the role of the players. First thing you do is draw a card from the deck. You get to look at this card and add it to your hand. Then, you take one of the cards from the face-up pile. From there, you're going to immediately replace the drawn face-up card with a new one from the deck. From there, you have 1 action unless you roll the die. So on each turn, you may choose to roll the die before you perform an action. Let's take a moment to talk about the die. Instead of taking 1 action on your turn, you can roll the die to determine how many actions to perform. The die has 3 different faces. If you have the blue 1 finger up, you get 1 action. If it's the red with no fingers up, you get 0 actions. And the last option is this green peace sign or 2 fingers up, and you get 2 actions. It's important to note that actions are not carried over between turns. With 2 actions, you can combine any 2 cards for a strong advantage. So if you roll the die, you have a better chance of winning, but at the same time, you could get unlucky and wind up with 0 actions. In difficult situations when you're behind, it's probably a good idea for you to risk rolling the die. So after you've made a decision about whether or not to roll the die, you carry out your action phase. It's important to note that no matter what you choose and no matter what happens, you are not required to take an action. Obviously, you can't take one if you roll the die and you get a 0, but you are never required to take an action. I've decided that I don't want to roll the die this time and I just want to do 1 action. So I'm going to look at my hand and see what I can do. After surveying my cards, I've decided that I want to play the trick card known as Envy, which allows me to choose a neighbor and randomly steal 2 cards from their hand. Now that I've done that, I discard the card and I place it face up next to the pile. Please note that this is a discard pile. It's not something you can select from over here unless you have a card that allows you to take something out of here. If you have no cards in your hand, you do not discard, and then your turn ends, and it is the next neighbor's turn. Play essentially continues like this in a clockwise fashion, as I mentioned previously, until someone wins the game. And now for what I'd like to think is everyone's favorite part of the review, the end game condition. The game ends when only one neighbor still has pills remaining. If 2 neighbors pop their last pills at the same time with neighborly love, for example, there are no survivors. So in the case of this game, the green player is the winner because they're the only one with a pill left. Before I get into my final review, I want to take some time to mention some things that I didn't get to before when I was explaining how to play, and some things that you should remember during your gameplay. First, there is no limit for cards in your hand, so you could basically hoard the whole deck if you want to and be a little card dragon. If the deck ever runs out, shuffle the discards to create a new deck. You must always follow the draw, action, discard order on your turn. Even if you don't use all of your actions, you must still discard at the end of your turn, unless you don't have anything to discard. You're not allowed to look through the discard pile unless you play a card with that effect. If you run out of cards, you are still in the game, but can't prevent neighbors' actions against you because you have nothing to play. When a player is eliminated, they discard any cards in their hand. Like all games, Nasty Neighbors does things well as some things kind of poorly. One of the things I don't like is that if you follow the official setup rules, the discard pile winds up next to the cards you can choose from every turn. And until there is more of an actual pile, it's kind of hard to differentiate between the cards. So my preference is to simply put the discard pile next to the draw pile, so on the opposite side of the cards you can choose from, just to make things a little clearer. Although all of the components are strong, I think it would have been cool if the pills looked more like pills as opposed to just little circles. I think that the choice was done simply to keep smaller children and maybe animals from choking on them because they're a larger size, but I thought that would have made things cooler and more thematic. The art style is a little nostalgic for me as well. It reminds me of something I'd see on Cartoon Network as a kid, so I do appreciate that. I like that everything is clearly labeled with the card type, with the card name, that it's color-coded, and that it also has a little symbol to help you differentiate between different types of cards. I think that this is ideal for younger players who maybe aren't the strongest readers yet and can just use the color or the symbol to help them differentiate between things. I like the option of rolling the die and gambling a bit to see how you can do and taking advantage of that die to do extra things that can help you get ahead in the game. I think that this game is also table friendly, it's budget friendly, it's shelf friendly. It comes in this tiny little box here. And although it's not bad with 2 players, I'd say it's better with a larger group of people. I'd say 4 is the sweet spot, and it's something that it's easy to teach and you can pretty much get started playing within like 5 to 10 minutes, so that's pretty awesome. I feel like the playtime is accurate, and going forward, I think it would be nice if they added a few more cards, some sort of expansion, to change up the dynamic of the game. And there you have it, my how to play and review of NASTOLA's Nasty Neighbors. What did you think of my review? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you guys think. Do you think that the 14 plus age suggestion is appropriate? Do you think that was simply put in place because of the popping pills component, which parents might not appreciate? Let me know. I always like to know what you guys think. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue. Subscribe, ring that bell so you'll know what's up, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Hi, Tisha Valenza, aka Poison Ivy, and you've just been watching King's Entertainment Reviews. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch.